Just over 2 years ago, I bought this GX470 with a little over 220,000 miles on it. Now as it sits, we've got 270,000 miles. I've built everything on it piece by piece, all by myself, no shops. I've posted little bits here and there throughout the build, but never made a full video outlining the whole thing. So in this video, I'm talking through the full build from start to finish. So when I was shopping for a vehicle, I was looking for a platform that was dependable, capable, and comfortable. I've had a lot of different vehicles. I've had Jeeps, I've had Chevys, I've had Fords, I've had a lot of different things. And I always kind of wondered about the Toyota reliability, but never really had any experience. So with this, I just took that leap of faith, and it's been the most reliable platform I've had. The only money I've had to put in it is stuff that I wanted to put in it and general maintenance. So when I bought this GX, it was completely stock, untouched. It was a single owner, bought in Texas, stayed in Texas its whole life, and serviced at the dealer. So when I got it, like I said, bone stock. Quickly after that, I decided I was going to make this a trail rig, make it something I could use off-road. So the first thing I did was bought a set of tires, slightly oversized from stock, got some BFG KO3s on it, and those were phenomenal. I did that, took the side steps off of it, and took it to my first off-road trip at Bridgeport Off-Road Park, and I was blown away with the capability in a stock vehicle. It was insane. So shortly after putting the new tires on it, I quickly realized that this was going to be a platform that I was really comfortable with, and I really wanted to see what it was capable of. Next things I did after the tires was I went ahead and added a ham radio, because I'm a little bit of a radio nerd. I did some MOLLE panels inside and a little platform that goes over top of the center console to help with the radio mount and a phone mount, and then also did my ditch lights, and I also did an antenna mount for that whole setup, and that was kind of how it sat for a little while. So at this point, the GX started really kind of feeling like my setup, not just a setup. It really started feeling comfortable, really started feeling like, my own setup. After that, I was shopping for different things, trying to figure out what I wanted to get. I knew kind of as a general vision of what I wanted it to look like, but, I went to this meetup from a organization called Cavalry Overland. And the first one I went to, it was a great community to meet up with, a lot of great people and a great cause. And, around that time I was shopping, trying to figure out, okay, I probably want to get an air compressor. I thought it was cool, but, it wasn't really something I was looking to buy right then. And it turns out, the raffle that Cavalry Overland does at every event, I ended up winning an ARB compressor. So that kind of kick-started me back into wanting to do some more mods on it, and just kind of really going in all the way on this build. And from there on, we can see how quickly I got to where we're at now. So after that, I took it off road quite a few more times after that, and quickly realized after my next trip to Bridgeport that the stock skid plates were not nearly up to the task as they should be. So I went ahead and got some ARB skid plates, and from there I went ahead and installed a Bilstein lift kit. There's 6112s in the front and 5160s in the back, and I had a 2-inch lift all the way around, and that's kind of how it sat for a long time. Took it to Arizona. From Arizona went to Colorado, and on the way to Colorado stopped by Moab and did fins and things there, and that was really where I realized how important those skid plates were. That made a huge difference of going through and not messing up anything on the underneath side of this. From there, I was always looking at pictures of builds, seeing all these Toyotas with all the different types of bumpers on them, but I always knew that I loved that Australian Outback safari style builds with the big bull bar bumpers. And as you can see, I've got the Ironman 4x4 bumper on here, and that, after I did that, oh, I loved it. That was my absolute favorite mod I've done to this thing, was putting that bumper on here. Doing it myself, it wasn't easy. It took us at least 8 hours through the night of doing it one day, but it was worth it. And that, really kind of solidified the look for me. Having that Australian style build really has kind of been my favorite thing. So right around that time, I had just had the vehicle for a year, and I got invited to go to Toyota Jamboree. I had never heard of it before until I had the Toyota and started doing research and realized how big of an event that was. So in its configuration that it was at the time, I went, did some off-road, and the first trail we went on, I went on a trail, was following a couple guys in some FJs, and slid against a wall and put some dents in the side of it, and realized pretty quick that I needed to do some sliders. So quickly after that trip, I decided, rock sliders was the next thing I was going to do. So I got these RCI rock sliders, put those on myself again, and I also got their gas tank skid plate. That way I've got full protection on the sides and underneath, along with those ARB skid plates. And definitely put these things to use. I brought it back to Bridgeport again after that and took it on some, higher difficulty trails than what I was used to previously. And it really kind of showed how important those were on the build, along with, of course, my, fresh body damage after that trip. So after that, I was kind of trying to decide, okay, what's my next big trip? Toyota Jamboree really got me going and really got me happy and, looking forward to what's next. So I decided to start planning a trip to Colorado, about a week-long trip. And, before then I knew that I needed to have somewhere to sleep. I needed to have somewhere to store all my stuff and to have it all organized. So I decided, instead of, buying a pre-made drawer system or something like that, or roof rack, I decided to build my own drawer system. In designing this, I knew that I wanted to have some extra backup power to power all of my just different, laptop, phone, my fridge that's in the back, all the different things. And I went ahead and got an EcoFlow Delta 3 power station, and I've got an alternator charger for that. And with that, I designed that drawer system to have its own little cubby that fits that power station directly inside of it. Having that in there, along with the drawer system, has really made organization and just any trip so much easier and more thought out. And along with that, I designed that drawer system to have a sleep platform built into it, so I am fully self-sufficient inside of this thing. I can sleep inside. I've got all my power. I've got a fridge. I can cook off of electric devices connected to my EcoFlow. I really designed this thing to be 100% self-sufficient inside the vehicle without having to have anything else. So right before the trip, after building that drawer system, I found an insane deal on this Vevor 270-degree awning. I got it from a Home Depot deal for like $80, so it was a no-brainer. With that said, though, I don't have a fancy roof rack with the mounting hardware or, T-slot aluminum extrusion or anything like that. I just went ahead and drilled some holes in the stock roof rack bars and mounted it on there for now, and it's been working fine. It has no problems at all. It's been great. It really was a great addition to have on that Colorado trip. We set up on top of a pretty steep, not a mountaintop, but I guess a plateau out there. And it was just the perfect setup for the three of us to have, with some extra shade cover there. That, and then I found that Yakima Skybox on Marketplace for free. That, along with my storage inside, I could move stuff when I was sleeping back up into the roof rack box on top. That way I had room inside and everything was protected from the elements, and never had to worry about anything getting stolen or eaten by any wildlife or anything like that. So I was really happy to have found that right before the trip as well. One other thing that I did on the exterior that was kind of a polarizing decision, because it was once you do it, there's no going back, but I've always loved the look of them. Again, with that Australian Outback style build, I added a snorkel to it. I didn't go with an ARB or Dobinson's. I just went with the cheap Amazon special one, but it did the job just fine. It's had no problems whatsoever, and it's definitely kept my air filter a lot cleaner when going in a convoy of people and you got all that dust flying up from everybody. It was definitely nerve-wracking cutting a hole in the side of my fender on this vehicle that, you're never going back from that unless you want to put a new fender on it. But that right after my bumper was probably my second favorite mod that I've ever done to this thing, because it really kind of ties in that whole look at the whole vehicle. So up until this point throughout the whole build, I had gone to Colorado. I'd done some pretty insane things with this vehicle that I never would have thought, going to the top of all these different mountain passes in Colorado: Engineer Pass, Imogene Pass, Black Bear Pass, Cinnamon Creek, or no, not Cinnamon Creek, Cinnamon Pass, and then Yankee Boy Basin and a couple others. That was a great trip, and that was all on those 32-inch tires on a 2-inch lift. If anybody's ever worried about, oh, well, I don't know if I can go to Colorado because I don't have all these mods, I don't have long travel, I don't have 35-inch tires or anything like that, you can go and see incredible things on a stock height or even a 2-inch lifted GX or 4Runner or whatever you got. Go and do the trip. That's one thing I would say. If you're going to sit there and think you can't make it, go and do it. That's the only way you're going to find out if you need more or if you can't make it through, is just to go do it. So first thing I would always recommend is just take that trip and go and see it. From that trip, though, I knew this is something I wanted to keep going with, and I had a vision for what I wanted. So throughout that whole time, I was running the Bilstein suspension, but I knew that I wanted to go long travel, and the Dobinsons or Apache setups were something that I always saw and was always so impressed with the capabilities of them. So I went ahead and got Apache AX2 long travel shocks on the back with their 3-inch extended travel long travel springs, and that's where I went from there. So as you see it now, I've got 3-inch long travel in the back with metal cloak upper and lower control arms in the rear. I've got Perry parts extended long range or long travel bump stops as well, and those have really smoothed out the ride as well. I'm really impressed with the Perry parts bump stops. And from there, I went ahead and got 35-inch tires. I've got some Toyo AT3s on here, and that involved a lot more modifications than any of the previous mods. There was a lot of cutting. I had to cut the bumpers, I had to cut the body mounts, I had to cut all the pinch seams in the front and the rear wheel wells, and it still rubs a little bit, you know. If you're not rubbing, you're not riding, right? But it is insane how much capability that long travel added in the back. I went to Gilmer out to Barnwell Mountain, get some redemption after I got some body damage from Toyota Jamboree, and hit some of those trails that I did before and did some even tougher ones, and this thing just ate it all up. I was so impressed with how capable this thing is. 35s and long travel in the back, really, you know, I couldn't really say you need much more other than that. So my favorite thing about this build is definitely that it's not some fresh project that just looks good for the camera. You know when you're ready. I bought this thing with 220,000 miles, 50,000 miles, and 2 years later, it's been used, it's been abused, and it's taken every bit of it with stride. It's had no issues whatsoever, and it has just been uberly reliable. It has been the best platform. It has taken me places that I could have never imagined going, and it has just been my favorite experience in a vehicle so far. You know, what everybody says about them, it's true. They're definitely reliable, they're definitely capable, and I would absolutely recommend it to anybody. So what's next? What's next with this build? You know, I've got some things I gotta clean up with it. You know, like I said, I've got some rubbing. I've got some rubbing under there. I definitely want to plan some more trips, and I just want to enjoy it. I just want to go on more trips and see more places, do more things with it, and just meet some more people. So if you guys are in Texas, North Texas area, and you want to go on some rides, let me know. I'm Sadham Actual, Sadham_actual on Instagram. Let me know. Shoot me a message, and I'd love to meet up with you. But this is my GX470. It's got 270,000 miles on it, and this is where we're at.